Yo, what's going on, everybody? Um, Welcome to episode 5 of the Word Soup podcast. I don't even know where to begin. I feels like I haven't done one of these in years. Although this hasn't been up for years, but whatever. Man, where to begin? It's been it's been one hell of a time away from doing the podcast, from the last time that I sat here and pretty much said anything to anyone. A lot has happened. Not a lot has changed, but a lot of things have definitely happened. But we're still here, and yeah, we're working through it. So, man, I honestly don't even know where to begin. I mean, I probably should have wrote something down. And you know what? I don't even know why I said that, because I did write something down. But I don't know. I like to go off script. It's more organic. It's real. It is what it is. So I mean, we went from family loss to, my son testing positive for COVID, spending some time in the hospital with that, to now, we're dealing with another family situation where my mom is not, her health is compromised. I don't want to get into the details of that, at least not on here. There might be a time where that might be appropriate, but I don't think that it is at the time. So the only thing that I will say in regards to that is keep my family in your prayers and your thoughts. And yeah, that's all that I'll say in regards to that at the moment. But we're still dealing with that, and it's been very difficult. But we've been staying strong. We've been staying together, and that's really what matters. So, man. So, out of all the little things, not little things, but out of all the things that have happened as of late, I would say that, we had a loss in the family, and that was my wife. She lost her grandmother. I don't want to get into the details of that too much, because again, that's her side of the family, and I don't want to talk about something that other people would not approve of or would not green light. So just out of respect and consideration for them, I'm gonna limit how much I speak to that. The only thing that I will say is that I got to meet her, and she was an incredible person who raised or helped raise an even more incredible person, being my wife. And I definitely understand as to why she was loved, or is loved, the way that she is. And it's very unfortunate. She did live a long time, so we're very thankful for that. But she's no longer suffering, and yeah, she's in a much better place. At least we like to think so. So that's that. Sorry, that was kind of short and not very connected, but like I said, I don't want to get into these things in a way that someone else might feel that it's not my place to talk about them. So my son having COVID and being in the hospital, man, that was tricky. That was real tricky. I've made several statements in regards to COVID, You know what? That's not even relevant, to be honest with you, because I've never said anything to the effect of, it's not a real thing. It doesn't. I've never said anything like that. So it's what I've said about COVID is it's pointless, and as it relates to what happened with my son. I guess the reason that I was even starting to go there is because when he tested positive, I guess a side of me felt like, well, I hope that, the things that I have said, or the things that, oh, well, children are not very likely to get it. And, all of those little things that we say, a part of me was really hoping, man, I hope this doesn't come back to bite me in the butt. I hope that my son doesn't turn out to be that 1%. I hope that my kid doesn't. And of course, it's always different when it hits home. So many things go through your head, what could happen. If this happens, what next? What the mind is such a powerful thing, and sometimes it takes you to a place that you really don't want to go to. And I feel like it almost does that in a way. Not you, because I mean it is you. I feel that we do that, rather. I feel that we do that in a way as to prepare ourselves for the worst. And I could honestly tell you that's what I was doing. I was preparing myself for the worst, as I have been for over the last month and a half now. Dealing with, like I said, my wife's grandmother being sick, and knowing that was a situation that was, it wasn't looking up. It was not a situation that was looking up. Then with my son, obviously we had more hope there, and we know that his chances are great because he is young and he is a kid, and most likely is that he will recover and he will be fine. But still, I think that you have to go there. You have to allow yourself to go there and think of the worst, because the worst is possible. And now, like I said, we're dealing with my mom, and yeah, sometimes you just have to prepare for the worst. So that's all I'll say about that. But back to my son, it was real scary. It was scary because you feel helpless. You don't know where this could go, because everything is just sort of like up in the air, at least when it comes to the way that they treat it, the way that they go about doing things. Everything feels like a trial, or like an experiment, where you really don't know if you get answers, but you don't feel like they're definitive. Just a lot of anxiety, a lot of questions, a lot of feeling like you want to do more, but you can't. It was a tough time. But my wife and I got through it. Thankfully, we have, as I've stated many times before, thankfully, we have a very strong support system, both from her side of the family and mine. And this is not to sort of, now create, a cliche out of a horrible situation, but the truth is that sometimes things happen, to bring people together for other situations to develop. And I think that one thing that I've taken from all of this is just how truly blessed I am to have the family that I have, and to have the people around me, obviously, that I have. In this time away, I traveled to Puerto Rico, and I got to spend some time with family that I haven't seen in a long time. I got to reconnect with people that I had not, in some cases, I'd not really ever connected with. And it was very necessary. It was necessary to have some of the conversations that I had, to see some of the tears that I saw. And it was just very necessary. It was very necessary for me to go out there and experience some of the things that I experienced. One of the reasons that I stayed away from the podcast was because the whole idea of Word Soup was obviously to have something to talk about. But to talk about something uplifting and warm, and when I started this whole thing, I still do, but my idea was, to create this platform where we could talk about uplifting things and things about life and this, that, and the third. And I wanted it to be something so bad, something so specific, that I think that I was limiting myself, because I wasn't capturing, or I wasn't taking my life as it happened. I only wanted to do one thing, and I think I mentioned this in the last episode, so I do apologize if this is a bit repetitive, but that was so long ago that, if anyone's listening to this, I'm sure they don't remember the last episode or any of the episodes prior to this, but I wanted to do something that was so specific and unique that I was cutting my legs. I was cutting myself at the legs, rather. That's what I meant to say. I'm sorry. My head's all over the place. I'm still kind of all screwy. But because I wanted to do something that was so specific, I was cutting myself off at the legs. And I was, like, for example, like, I would not have recorded a podcast like this one, because I felt like, the energy's not going to be there. And, I'm going to talk about a whole bunch of things that, are somewhat sad. My son being sick, although he's fine now. My mom's still dealing with a certain situation. My wife and her loss. But, I really got to thinking, especially during this time, and I said, dude, just slow down and take it for what it is. If the platform is really about sharing and communicating and creating dialogue, then just be you and do that. And for some reason I'm not going to say afraid, because I'm not afraid of anything, because I am, but I'm not afraid of a lot of things. And so it wasn't, that I was afraid to share a certain side of me or certain things happening. I don't know, so I guess with that being said, what I'm really trying to say with that is, expect more podcasts. Just if in the past I mentioned that, there was a very specific route that I was going to take these in, just don't expect that. Don't expect anything. Let go of all expectations. That's I guess that's where I messed up in the beginning. I created this expectation because of what I wanted and this vision that I had. Rather than treating this like a baby and just taking one step at a time. But I guess that's the visionary in me, wanting to create something huge out of nothing, and wanting to run before walking, or wanting to run before crawling, even, to be honest with you. But we're here again. I've said this, I think, in every single episode. These are I can't even think of the word. I've said it in every episode. These are that's gonna bug me the whole entire time now. Growing pains. There we go. These are growing pains. So, we're growing, we're evolving, and it's okay. It's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just as I understand that introspection is, the process in which we know that we're dealing with an emotional, spiritual sort of thing. All things require that, so I don't even know if that made any sense, but whatever. Oh man, I am so out of it. But you know what? Let's see, because I know I wrote something else down here that I wanted to talk about. Let's see. Yeah, so just really, like I said, sometimes you have to allow yourself the time to understand that it's going to be really shitty before it gets good. It's going to be bad before it gets any good. And I think that when I started this, not that I didn't have that in mind. I guess I was so excited. I was excited to do the podcast, and like I said, I had a vision of how I wanted it to be, and that's why I did the backdrop, and I basically set up like a whole studio in my dining room area, which now thinking about it, it's like, dude, you barely have a mic that's good enough to record with, and you created a whole studio in your living room or your dining room. So like, me getting ahead of myself as usual, but it's okay. It's like I said, it all came from a good place, and it was just me being passionate and wanting to be, like I said, a visionary and having a vision and wanting to go forward with it. But then when things don't go your way and you deal with that first obstacle, then you start doubting yourself and questioning everything, which is exactly what happened, because like a week after I started the whole podcast, I no longer wanted to do the podcast, and I was tired of it, and I'm like, what content do I create? What do I do? Rather than just understanding, dude, it's going to take a while. Some days you're going to feel like doing it. Some days you're not going to feel like doing it. And I don't want to say that all of these things happening lately came at a perfect time. I wouldn't say that, but I do believe that we can gain from situations, sometimes negative situations, and we can take time, sit back, and look at things from a different point of view, and we might be able to get something different out of it. Like I was able to take time away to really, really, really concentrate on just how I was feeling about everything. I wanted to do podcasting. I wanted to record and create content and do all that, but also because of how I was feeling at the time, just because of all things going on around me. Like I said, I didn't want to bring that energy forward, which I should have. I should have shared those moments. There's no point in regretting, oh no, I didn't. It is what it is, and but like I said, it allowed for me to understand that that's just part of it. That's just part of it. Sometimes you go through it, and things take time. So now I think that what I'm going to do as it pertains to this whole podcasting thing is just whenever I feel like doing it, I'll just do it. I'm not going to put the pressure on myself that, I have this podcast and I have to upload, 3 things a week in order for it to be successful, because, you hear all these how to create a successful podcast and this and that, and that's all cool, and I'm all for it. But again, like I stated before, the purpose of this wasn't for me to become like, overnight famous or to go viral or to do it. No, it's so I can feel better, so I can express myself, and if someone listening can gain anything from this, then great. So at one point I felt down because I said, you know what, like, who the hell am I going to reach by sitting in front of a computer and talking about my stupid problems for 20-30 minutes? Who is that possibly going to help? Who is that going? It's not going to make a difference. And then I kept thinking, I was like, wait, you're contradicting yourself, because if you understand that it only takes maybe one person, if it takes maybe helping one person in order to create change, then that should tell you, do it, because you don't know who's watching. So what if you have 15 views? So what if you have 30 views on one video? What if maybe 1 or 2 out of those 30 people, got something from that, and you were able to say maybe one line, one phrase, one word, whatever, that brought something to that person. So if that's really how I feel, which it is, then that shouldn't matter. Then I should still do the podcast, and I should do the podcast whenever, not just when I'm feeling happy-go-lucky and just when I'm, let's talk about, positivity. No, like, life is up, life is down, and sometimes it's kind of like in this weird place. And I'm not scared to share my, how I feel, and I'm not scared to share myself. So I should be willing to do that at all times, not just when things are looking up, not just when things are going great. So like I said, there's probably going to be more content coming, but it also depends on when I want to do it. So that's kind of the thing about it, my content, I guess you can say, it'll be a little bit more, it won't be so specific about just one thing or this or that, but it's just more when I feel like recording. But it's okay. We'll get through it. We'll figure it out. And yeah, I just got a call from my wife. But because she didn't call again and again and again and again and again, I know it's okay. So another one of the things that I wanted to talk about, and I'm sorry that this is very like formatted. I don't know. One thing about me, and I guess I need to work on that, is I need to stop apologizing for having let me see, how do I say that? Not for having like a vision or for having my own ideas, but like, for example, I like for things to seem organic. So if I'm sitting here, or as I'm sitting here going, well, the next thing that I want to talk about, now I feel like I'm sort of doing a presentation, and I don't want this to feel like a presentation, because it's not. I'm not standing in front of a classroom doing whatever, whatnot. So, but at the same time, I am sort of hosting something, a podcast, which is supposed to feel more like a conversation, but there's no one here. So then I see what I'm talking about. But one of the things that I wanted to talk about was just how dealing with some of the things that I dealt with in the past have helped me deal with a lot of the things that have happened that, recently. It allowed me to be able to say, catch your breath, man. Catch your breath. And sometimes I feel like that's kind of one of the things that we don't do when things are starting to pile up on top of us. Like we feel like we're sinking in the water. The pressure is deeper and the ears are ringing. And I don't know if you've ever been underwater for too long and you feel like, I gotta get out. And sometimes when life starts throwing situations at you, we feel overwhelmed. And Sometimes you just need a moment to breathe. Like literally, just take your head out of the water. Take a deep breath, and literally just take a deep breath. Having dealt with some of the things that I've dealt with in the past, it gave me sort of like that sense of, okay, don't let this overwhelm you. Don't let this overwhelm you, because we're gonna get back to that place, and that's not a good place. So rather than get down on myself, rather than start questioning things about why certain things happen, things that are out of my control, things that are out of the control of anyone around me, there's no reason to ever point fingers, or sometimes we do that. I just said, you know what, let me just take a deep breath and control what you can control, which is how you feel, how you make those around you feel. And I'm not going to say that oh my God, I'm this Zen master who's got it all figured out. And no, it doesn't mean that I don't get overwhelmed and that things can't get to me, because trust me, they do all the time. But I think that I'm doing a much better job of handling, I guess you can say, these set of problems, as opposed to in the past when I've had to deal with, maybe not similar situations, but situations that can sometimes trigger the same feelings, the same anxieties, the same stress. So I guess when I say that's not me trying to now be Dr. Phil. It's just more of a, if I could offer anything. If we are still here, it's because we won. Meaning we won yesterday's fight, and the fight and the battle that we had the day before that, and the battle and the fights that we had the day before that. So let's just try to remember that when we are dealing with problems and we have situations that can be overwhelming, present, in our present, just understand that, you know what, we're still standing. And the fact that I'm dealing with this situation today means that I beat a situation yesterday. So maybe I can just apply a little bit of what I did yesterday to today. And it doesn't always seem that simple, and it hardly ever is. And it sounds a lot easier it's a lot easier said than done. We all know that. But I think that it just takes that. It takes taking a deep breath, gathering yourself. You'd be surprised what really stepping back from a situation and collecting your thoughts could really do for you. Again, I just offer, what's worked for me. I'm no expert. I'm no professional. Yeah, I really don't know what else to say for today. So I think that I'm going to end whatever this episode is. I think I'm going to end it pretty soon. But thank you for listening again. I appreciate it. Stay tuned. I almost have a feeling like this is gonna start taking like that, not weird, because it's not weird, it's something different, but it's going to start taking like that late night radio like sort of tone to it, where it's just like, I'm just here to talk to you and put you to bed at night. Which, if that turns out to be the thing and I can put people to sleep, then wow, that's the whole new definition of boring. But I don't know what I'm saying anymore. Thank you for listening. I appreciate it. Share, like, subscribe. Again, just stay tuned. I'll pop these out every now and then.